So, you know how I've been saying that, like, all the police are corrupt, and people are like, I don't know, there's there's some bad ones, but there's some good ones. Um, well, have you heard of the Epstein files, right? It's not just one or two people, it's a whole network, seemingly, of powerful and influential people who are doing not so good things, right? That's kind of the whole disclosure here, is that they're all connected at the highest levels. And I believe the files also documented that the FBI either looked the other way for decades about what was going on, or we'll just leave it at that. Maybe they looked the other way at all these horrible things that were going on, but that is like baseline, apart from, participation, which I don't know. Is that implied? I don't know. Um, so we've had zero arrests. That's a thing. Zero arrests. Why? Why hasn't anyone been arrested? And I think we only need to look as far as the fusion centers to understand why that is. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, there's a fusion center in every state. And you can look that up. You can look up where the fusion center is in your state. There might be one or two people out there who remember years ago when I was saying, where's the fusion center located in your state? The fusion centers are run by the state police and or the FBI. So what do the fusion centers do? They collect information. That's their whole purpose, is to collect and share information. It's a really big expense to the taxpayers to fund these fusion centers every year. And their whole purpose of this intelligence agency setup is to share information. There have been no arrests in the United States in connection to the Epstein whatever. There's a fusion center in every state. So my question is, what are they doing? They're collecting all this information on what exactly? Because Epstein's network has been going on for decades. Some of that shit goes back to the 90s, I think, in there. So what have the fusion centers been doing? What have they been collecting information on? Are you telling me that they just didn't know what was going on with Epstein's whole network? They were clueless about it? Because if that's the case, then they're not doing their jobs very well, and why are we funding it? What were they looking at? What were they spending all their time looking at? And obviously I'm being facetious here because we know, right? That's the reason they're looking so hard at us. They got to know what everybody else in the world is doing so their little network doesn't get exposed, right? They have to know where we are at all times so that they can run their operation. Be my guess. So if they knew about everything that was going on and they did nothing to stop it, is that a criminal offense? I think so, right? These guys took oaths to do, protect and serve and all that. I mean, maybe we're well past all this conversation, but just trying to point out the obvious, because I don't even think a lot of people know what fusion centers are.